What is going on, you guys? Welcome back to a brand new sports cards video. In today's video, I'm going to be breaking down some thoughts that I have on Gary Vee's current investing strategy in the sports card market. He's gone on a couple of podcasts and gone on a couple of videos in which he's kind of given his thoughts on some players that he believes are good investments. So I'm going to be going over those and kind of sharing my personal thoughts on what I believe on what he's saying. So without further ado, let's hop right into the video. Alright guys, so the number one player that I have seen Gary Vee mention in recent videos that he's hopped on, I believe there was one with Justin Gamble, and he did a couple, I believe, on his personal YouTube channel. So the first player on that list that he was talking about a lot was Joe Burrow. He was talking about Burrow a lot before the season. Of course, he was injured last year, and his cards were pretty depressed compared to where they were, of course, when he made that Super Bowl appearance, and, even the year after, his cards were a lot more hyped than they were last year. So I do believe that his train of thought, was at the right, I believe he had a good train of thought. And Burrow's cards, overall were sitting at fairly reasonable numbers. If you look at, where they were in 2022 and 2023 compared to where they are this year, they're definitely down a lot. We see over the last 90 days, it's picked back up a little bit recently, but his cards are down over 11%. And he's having a phenomenal season. I think the Bengals offense is still an electric offense. Chase is having a big year. Burrow's statistically having a great year. I think the missing piece of the puzzle, of course, is that the Bengals have not been able to win. And I think that's really what's caused, Joe Burrow's market to be down over 11% over the last 90 days. I think what's lacking in Joe Burrow's resume, he's got everything else, but I think for him to be a face quarterback of the league, he's just missing that Super Bowl. And I think if they have more competitive, playoff pushes, you could see his market go up, but I don't see a big catalyst because I think everyone's kind of under the assumption that, Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's got the stats. He's, got the play. The Bengals offense is rolling, but I feel like it's really been about their defense this year that hasn't been keeping up, and I think that's what's really led to the Bengals, having such a poor record and likely missing the playoffs at this point as I'm recording this video. So for Burrow personally, I think we're kind of at a point where I think we're in a standstill, kind of like how we've been for Josh Allen for a couple of the last years. It's like, Mahomes is the one winning the Super Bowls, and, Allen and Burrow are putting up great stats, but they've yet to show that they can win that Super Bowl and lead their team into, even a deep playoff run again. And I think that's what we're just waiting to see from Burrow and Allen. And I think until then, we're going to continue to see their prices stay pretty depressed because every year that goes by, it's bad for their market. It's bad for Allen's market every year that goes by that he's not, making at least the AFC Championship and putting in a, good foot or winning an MVP or something. I think Lamar and Patrick Mahomes, their markets are in the greatest spots because they're winning those accolades that are going to mean something in the long term. Burrow and Allen are doing a lot that show that they're one of the best quarterbacks in the short term and, in our generation. But I don't believe they're stacking accolades for the long term. And I think long-term investors would rather get into someone like Patrick Mahomes because he's already, he's established to be at this point the greatest quarterback of our generation and someone who will have relevance in the long term in the sports card market. I don't see that for Burrow or Allen yet. I think if we do see them win a Super Bowl, that's when we can start to see the tide change. But I think for right now, Burrow is a pretty risky pick. Now, the next player that Gary Vee has mentioned a lot has been on the basketball side. He's been mentioning LeBron quite a lot in terms of investments that he believes are good to make right now. This is a personal investment that I would back. I think LeBron's market right now, during the end of all-time greats' careers, we always see their markets at the lowest point. If you look at a whole graph, for example, of like Kobe's market, of MJ's market, of LeBron's market, of course, those were different eras, so I'm not comparing them apples for apples, but you always see that their market towards the end of their playing careers, when they start to wear off a little bit of their greatness, and we start to see them age and them have losing seasons, not win MVPs, not win championships for a couple years, we see their markets really collapse. We saw LeBron, he hasn't added too much to his legacy since 2021. In fact, he hasn't really added anything to his legacy since 2021 besides playing with the Sun and maybe a couple other, of course, being the all-time leading scorer and all that. But I think that was kind of already priced in and expected. But his cards have absolutely come crashing down over the last couple of years. And I think they're bottoming out to a point where I personally am kind of looking at buying back in, just because we've seen, LeBron's top scrum refractors in a PSA 10, for example. This is along with a lot of his other cards. We're starting to see them bottom out a little bit. The Lakers have not had a good year, but, his cards are, at this point, I think kind of bottomed out. Maybe we see another 5,000 drop or another 20% drop for his other cards, but I don't see them going down too much more. I think over the long term, once he does retire, is kind of going to be the clicking point where I think these are going to start to head back up in price. So I think LeBron's definitely one of those guys where I would get behind. I would buy the dip if you are wanting to hold for the long term. If you're wanting to hold for the short term, I would go for younger players. You're just not going to see as big gains for the short term for, more established players, anybody more established, So I think if you are going after players like this, where it's LeBron, it's his top scrum collection. This card in a PSA 10 was a $10,000 card in 2021. This card's currently like a $1,300 card. I think for the long term, it could start to test back some higher levels and see some great growth. Now, the third player that my boy Gary Vee talked about a lot was Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, I personally believe is one of the safer investments to make in the football card market. You kind of see him already starting to just be the face of the NFL. We don't see many players, even close to his level right now in terms of him just being able to win. His stats don't even need to be there. Nothing else really needs to be there. As long as this guy keeps stacking up Super Bowls, I think his market's headed to great places in the long term. The main thing that I love about Patrick Mahomes' market is that his pop counts are super, super limited compared to, more common players. This is technically Patrick Mahomes' base prism. I know it's technically a silver. He did not have a base prism, so this is kind of widely considered his base prism. The PSA 10 for this card is a pop under 1,000. The pop is under 1,000, and if you look at, a CJ Stroud prism, for example, or any more modern quarterback, the demand has to be such a higher multiple for him to see the same prices. This right here is a base prism of Stroud, and the pop is over 7,000 already, and this card came out in 2023. Patrick Mahomes' cards have been being graded for, the last 7 to 8 years. So you need to see so much more demand for a guy like CJ Stroud for his prices to hold up. Whereas for Mahomes, his pop counts are fairly low. So if he becomes the staple investment of our generation for the football card market, and given the football card market's popularity, a lot of his cards with such low pops, I think Mahomes is set to be one of the best investments of our generation if he continues to stay healthy and continues on this trajectory. So I'm definitely with Gary Vee on this investment. I think if you're able to get into, rare Patrick Mahomes rookie cards that are desirable and fairly low pop, you're going to be set to see some great gains in the long term if he continues to be, on this level. I did make a full video about Patrick Mahomes investments that I believe are the best to make. So if you guys are more interested in specific players, I've done that one for LeBron as well. So if you guys are more interested in like specific cards to invest in, I've made those videos, so you can definitely go check them out. But I do believe Mahomes is definitely overall a very good investment right now. So overall, I'm 2 for 3 with Gary. I think I definitely agree with this LeBron and Mahomes theories. I think the Burrow, I would say he's a better investment than a lot of other quarterbacks in the league, but I still think he's a little bit of a dicey one right now, given where we're at. With the Bengals and with his career, I think there's going to need to be a big stimulant for his market to really pick back up. But I really hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you enjoyed, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate if you guys could show some support to the channel. as we put a lot of hard work into these videos. But other than that, I hope you guys did enjoy. Have a great rest of your day, and I'm out. Peace.